Listen to the Tommy Schnurmacher Show, live weekdays 9 to noon on CJAD 800 and CJAD.com.
Money time, talking about your money. Springtime, time for spring cleaning. Besides getting your house in order, also perhaps a good time to get finances in order. My next guest is here to help you spring clean your finances. She joins me now. Lama Ferran is a personal finance expert, a certified money coach. Great tips, by the way, you can find at her website, MaxWorth.ca. Again, that's MaxWorth.ca. Good morning, Lama. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right, someone's listening. They say, that's a good idea. I'm going to get my finances organized. Where should they start?
Well, it's the same thing. I mean, you mentioned the house cleaning. It's really, it's very important to be financially organized because, you know, the saying, they say cluttered space is a cluttered mind. Well, it's the same thing. Cluttered financial papers is cluttered or financial fog. So the first place to start is the actual physical papers. And very often I go to people's houses when I'm having like a session with them or something, and they go pick up a paper from here, a paper from there. So it's literally all over the place. So the first place to start is to dedicate one place in your house for your money papers. I'm not saying a whole room or a whole desk. It could be just, for me personally, it's one storage box. That's it. All my papers are in one storage box. And you might think, well, yeah, but how do all your papers fit in one storage box? That's because I don't keep papers forever. So I go through some cleanup regularly. Every 3-4 months, I shred the older ones, and everything that I need fits in that box. So there could be, this is what I call the permanent storage space, and you can have a temporary one. The temporary one is really just a paper tray that could sit on your desk, where if you get a bill during the day, during the week, you just put it on there until you actually sit down and deal with it. So the reason people don't think that all their papers would fit in a storage box is because they keep papers for way too long. You know, I've seen even my mom, you know, she had cell phone bills or hydro bills from like 10 years ago. I'm like, you don't need them anymore, right? So there's some rules of thumbs that you can follow for how long to keep papers for. For example, utilities is 1 year. You really don't need to keep your Hydro-Quebec bill for more than a year, unless you work from home and you have a home-based business and it's a business expense and that you're claiming it on your taxes, then yes, you have to keep it in case the government audits your corporate taxes, your business taxes. But if it's something that, you know, you have a 9-to-5 job, you go to an office, you really don't need your hydro bill for more than a year. Same thing for your cell phone, same thing for the cable and things like that.
Now, you also mentioned keeping it all in one place. I know that as tax time comes around, people are having a tough time. They've got some of their receipts on their cell phones. Some are printed, some are not printed. Isn't the best thing to do as soon as you get a receipt, let's say it's on email, is to print it up right away. Otherwise, you'll forget it's there. And what I do, tell me if this is a good idea. I have a file accountant. Anything that the accountant might use at some point goes in there. Mm-hmm. Sometimes there's too many. Sometimes it's not needed. You can throw it out. But when I have the appointment with him, I don't have to look anywhere in the house because it can only be in one place.
That's right. Yeah, I have a similar folder, which is anything that I'm accumulating during the year that I know I'm going to use for my taxes next year. Like I make a donation, I receive a receipt, I put it there. My kids have a certain sports activity, I get the receipt for their fitness tax credit, I put it in there. So it's accumulating during the year, so I don't have to think about, oh, where did I put that paper again? And you mentioned printing. I mean, really, unless you know you're going to need it, you don't need to print anything. And that's the number one way to get financially organized, is to make everything electronic. All your bills, all your statements, everything. Because the company or the financial institution are going to keep everything on file for you forever. Well, not forever, maybe 7 years. So most probably you're not going to need them, but they're always going to be there. Even your notice of assessments. If you have an account with the Canada Revenue Agency or Revenue Quebec, you can go log in online and see your notice of assessment for the past 7 years. So even those, in theory, you could get rid of them.
This text is saying, how long do I need to keep a bank statement?
1 year. Because you can, after that, if you have to dispute something on it, anyway, it's going to be too late for the bank. So you just, when you receive it, look at it. If there's any charges that you want to dispute, after that, it's useless.
Now, where you have this file or this box, this is called the money corner?
Yes, I call it my money corner.
What else is in your money corner?
It's pretty much the tax returns, and my money corner is shrinking because everything is electronic these days. I have a copy of the will, so I have one copy at home and one copy in the safety deposit box. I have the car insurance, the home insurance. Again, like when I receive one, I compare the rate to last year's, and then I throw away the one last year. Actually, when I say throw away, I mean shred. You can never just take a paper and put it in the recycling or in the garbage. So it's very, very important to shred any of these documents that you're getting rid of.
How do you keep your finances in order after you've set everything up? Do you check in every day, every week, once a month?
Personally, I check in every 2-3 days. But for my clients, I usually tell them once a week. So it's going to be your money date. It's your date with your money. You sit down and you give it some attention for 30 minutes.
Oh, it's not that. You take it out for dinner?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, yes.
So you bring a glass of wine and you sit down and you start talking to your money. Well, this is the time where you can, so I mentioned the permanent storage box, and there's also the temporary one, which is the tray. So the tray is really just the bills that you might have received during the week. So during your money date, this is when you sit down and you schedule these payments. And if you have a spouse, please invite them to your money date, because even if you're the one responsible for paying the bills, it's still good if they know what's happening. And it's also the perfect time to sit down and discuss what expenses are coming up that are a bit tricky that you want to discuss and how to deal with, and in terms of budgeting.
With your clients as a certified money coach, do you often find that with couples that one partner is aware of absolutely everything going on, where all the money is, and the other partner has no idea?
Yeah, that's very, very typical. And this is where I really force the other person to at least sit down with the person who's responsible usually and do the things together. Because what if something happens to the other person? You know, the rates of divorce are very high, right? You're assuming you're in a relationship today, but it doesn't mean anything. So it's really, really important to be aware of things so that when a crisis happens, you're not lost and you're not there finding out, oh, how did he pay this bill, or where did he put that paper, or things like that. So it's very important to start doing it together.
Your questions for my guest, personal finance expert, certified money coach, Lama Farhan. Her website is maxworth.ca. This texter one wants to know what a money coach charges and if your fees are tax deductible.
My fees are not tax deductible, and what I charge is really depending on what he needs. So it can start from a few $100s to a few $1,000s depending on what is it that he needs, how much work does he need.
This other texter wants to know if don't banks charge for accessing old electronic bank records?
Maybe that are very, very old, older than 7 years, but anything less than that, you can find it online.
And once you've done do the check on your finances every year, sorry,
every week, you mean?
Yes, every week. Not every year is a bit late. If you do it every week, what are some of the advantages of doing it that way?
Well, really, nothing falls through the cracks. It's as easy as that. Like, I see so often that, you get a bill and then you forget to pay it. And people don't like to pay bills in advance, which I completely understand. And I don't pay my bills in advance, but I schedule them in advance. So if I get municipal taxes and it's due in June, well, I receive it in February and I set up the automatic payment for it, the post-dated payment in February. So I don't have to think about it again. So it's done. Doesn't mean that the city's going to get their money earlier. It's just it's out of my to-do list earlier.
Do you have a filing system?
I have that box, but as I said, maybe 80% of my stuff are electronic right now, so I rarely get anything. So everything is really online, electronic bills, electronic automatic debits.
Your questions for certified money coach Lama Farhan. Text your question to 514-800. Your chance to consult right here, right now with certified money coach Lama Farhan, founder of MaxWorth.ca. That texter wanted to know about emphasizing, what should they emphasize, reducing debt or making an emergency fund first? How many months worth of operating expenses should be in the emergency fund?
Okay, so there's multiple steps that he can follow. One, I would say have a mini emergency fund. So a mini one is $1,000, $2,000 max. So have that first and then start paying off your debt. And then once your debt is paid off, then you can go to filling up your emergency fund to make it a real one. And that should be between 3 and 6 months of essential expenses. So look at whatever you're spending today, what's essential. The restaurant is not essential. Let's say you need $2,000 of just to pay your rent and pay the gas and all that. So multiply that by 3 to 6 times.
Is it a good exercise? Is it worthwhile trying to find out or ascertain your net worth?
For sure. I mean, it's an exercise that I do with my clients all the time. Calculating your net worth is going to force you to go dig out the statements, the latest statements of all the accounts. And what net worth is, it's very simple. It's everything that you own. So all your assets. So that's your bank accounts, your investments, your home value, your car value, minus all your debts. So minus all the balances on your credit card, your mortgage, your car loan, your student loan, your renovation loan. You list them all. And the difference between these two numbers is your net worth. So it's good because that's going to give you the opportunity to know how much you actually weigh financially today. So you can compare yourself, redo the exercise in a year from now. And the reason it's good for your spring cleanup is because you're going to be forced to go dig out the statements of everything.
Oh, I think you're going to like this text, Lama. This texter says, I'm 33, no debts, with $50,000 worth of savings. I earn about $60,000 a year. What would be my smartest financial move at this point?
Well, I don't know if he owns a house already, if he's debt free, if it's one of his goals, it depends on his goals.
Right.
So if it's buying a rental property, maybe that savings could be the down payment. So it really depends on his goals. But real estate could be definitely a good option.
And not having debt is a pretty good option.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Does he not have that because he already paid off a mortgage or because he doesn't have a property?
Well, maybe he'll text back. This texter says, when you go in to get a consolidation loan, does that, to lower your interest on your credit cards, does that affect your credit score?
Not necessarily. Depends. The ones through the bank, no. If you go for one of those credit consolidation companies, then what you're really doing is a consumer proposal. Then yes, it will affect. But if you just walk into the bank and you cancel a whole bunch of credit cards and they give you a loan, it shouldn't affect it.
Tell me about that consumer proposal, what exactly that means.
Well, that's really one step behind bankruptcy. It's as easy as that. It's you still have to pay your debts. It's just the company is going to negotiate the interest rates, so it's going to be lower. It's going to be one amount. So it's really not bankruptcy. So on your credit report, it's not going to show as you declared bankruptcy, but it's going to show it's something called R7. So it's going to say you went in a consumer proposal. So it's if that option doesn't work for you, then you go into bankruptcy where you don't pay.
Now, if you have this R7, you'll still be able to get credit, right?
Maybe
How soon before the credit card companies start sending you the cards?
Well, knowing them the day after. But
Right.
the thing is, it's going to stay on your credit report for a while. So the banks are going to be more hesitant than, maybe more aggressive companies.
Money questions, we've got the answers. This text is saying, Tommy, that debt-free guy texts in every time Lama's on the show. I hate him.
No, you should be inspired by him.
Yes, it's signed negative net worth. This other text is saying, I have $250K put aside. Should I pay off my mortgage of $110K or invest the $250?
Well, what's the rate on his mortgage? So if the rate on his mortgage is 2-3% and he can invest it and make 5%, I would invest it.
Another text is saying, I rent. I don't believe that buying real estate is a smart move at this point, considering that the Canadian market is inflated.
Well, it's a long-term strategy, right? And depending on where else is he putting his money if he's not putting it in real estate.
What happens if you have a bad credit rating? What will that do to your ability to get another credit card?
Well, it can affect it definitely, but you can also work on improving it, and that's by paying your bills always on time, all the credit cards on time. You can start decreasing what is called the utilization rate, so decreasing how much you're using out of the limit available. So there's different. You can subscribe to getting your credit score regularly, so you can see it going up while you're doing all this. So paying on time, that's definitely important, and using your credit cards less.
Is it possible to negotiate the actual percentage of interest you pay to a credit card company?
For sure. And there's a lot of credit cards out there that can trade a better interest rate for the points, meaning that if you let go of the reward points, they'll give you a better interest rate. So it's worth it to call the company and just see what can you do for the rate, and they might suggest another card for you.
Okay, take out your crystal ball. This texter, Lama, who's 56, wants to know if it's a good idea to invest in the Montreal condo market.
Oof, no, I'm not a real estate specialist. I'm sorry.
I love this question. It says, should I sell what I've invested in the stock market, and how much tax do I have to pay on it? $111.14. I think that's the answer. I mean,
You're right.
We'd have to know a lot more detail than that. Always a pleasure. Lama Ferran, personal finance expert, certified money coach. She's the founder of MaxWorth.ca.
News Talk Radio, CJAD 800, CJAD.com.